Right, so it is possible to have a reversal of an impairment. It isn't common, I imagine, because once something is impaired, it typically does go along that um, downward spiral. Sorry, but typically you can have that reversal. And if the original impairment was charged against the revaluation surplus, of course, it is recognized as other comprehensive income and credits to the revaluation reserve. So, I mean, first of all, if you had this revaluation, then of course that goes to the revaluation reserve. And remember, we've gone through the process of being able to credit some of that against the impairment in the income statement via the double entry. If you look at the previous video I've just done, you see us play with that. But when you have that type of scenario where you have some movement against the revaluation reserve, the reversal can't take it above its kind of, under normal circumstances, depreciated historical cost. So I'll show you an example, but the depreciation that would have been charged in the meantime must be considered, and I'll come to an example to sort of put that into words. Anyway, goodwill impairment can't be reversed, which is my point really. It is rare to see impairment reversals. I mean, this is just academic, I think. I think usually it's not common. So typically we don't ever really see any reversal in goodwill. And internally generated goodwill is not recognized anyway. And I think we already talked about evidence of impairment or evidence of impairment. So really it's the reverse, really. It's sort of saying that everything we talked about, just imagine a switch. Imagine some kind of favorable movement, if you like, in favor of the asset. So, for example, fall in interest rates. I mean, we're currently experiencing similar things, aren't we? Where people are talking about interest rates falling as low as 0, if you like, in order to stimulate the economy. There is talk of it. And of course, your product might be coming back into scope. So maybe who knows? Key point here is things are favorable for you. So let's look at this illustration. Actually, I thought oh, right. So let me just take this here. It's an illustration, really. It's in the scenario, but I want to do the double entry. I think that's always the. Let me take that out of there. 1 second. Let's just take that there, and so we can see what is going on. Yeah, I'll do it here. I think I have enough space. Okay, so what do we have here? So it says that we have this scenario where Boxer bought an asset for 30,000 on the 1st of January. So that's 30,000 there, asset. And it had an estimated useful life of 10 years. So that's great. So I'll just have here my accumulated depreciation. Okay, no problem. So I've done how many years so far? It doesn't revalue the asset, but accounts for it on the basis of depreciated historical cost. No problem. 2 years later, the 31st of December, so therefore, after 2 years, over 10 years, well, that's 30 divided by 10, isn't it? So my annual depreciation is 3 grand. So after 2 years, my annual depreciation is 2 years of annual depreciation. I have 6 grand in there. So I have a net book value of £24,000. So what we now observe, just changing my pen color, is that what I now see is that there is some impairment. So I've been depreciating for 3 so far anyway. So that's the key point. I want you to remember that. So at this date, I notice there's an impairment and a recoverable amount of 16. So what I should do is, well, 6 out of there, into there, and 14 here, and 14 here. That now clears that accumulated depreciation out. The net book value of my assets is 16, and I have impairment of 8. So that's what's happened so far. Now, it now says that at the 31st of December 2005, so what I've started doing now is I've got 16,000 here as the value of my asset. And so I go through X3, X4, X5. So 3 more years. Remember now that I have 8 years left. I've done 2 years. So I have an asset that's 16,000 over 8 years left. So I'm currently putting through depreciation of 2 grand every year. So my depreciation for 3 years is 2,000 X3, X4, X5, 2 grand each year, leaving an accumulated depreciation again of 6. So now my net book value, if you like, is, well, I'm just going to carry this down so you see it, is 16,000 and accumulated depreciation is 6. So my net book value is 10. So now we get here on the 31st of December and someone now says, oh, things are reversed. Your recoverable amount is now 40 grand. You're like, whoopie-doo. So we remember we always recognize things at the lower of cost and recoverable amount, which is technically the higher value in use and net realized value. Recoverable amount is 40,000. It's currently showing in at 10. So you can see that I'm never going to be recognizing it at 40 anyway. I'm always going to be recognizing it at cost. So what the standard allows is to say, well, now that we can see recovery, we could assume we can go back to the place of assumption where things were as they were at the beginning. If you had left things alone, what you would have is you would have had 30,000, of course 10 years, but then you would have had 5 years of depreciation, which is you would have had depreciation so far of 15,000, and therefore your net book value would not be 10, your net book value would be 15. So it says what we're going to do for you is, yes, of course, well, I mean, again here, really what we're trying to say here is that I need to bring the asset back to a process of 15 and then just depreciate as 3 over the rest of its life. So in a way, again, what you're doing is you're trying to go from 10 to 15. That's your argument. That's the key point. So from a non-double entry point of view, 10 I'm allowed to put through 5 in the income statement, basically, and so credit income statement 5 and debit the asset 5. That's the key point. You can record an extra 5 to bring it back in, right? Because, like I say, you're currently showing 10, but we need to show 15. But from a double entry point of view, I think it's important to highlight that what we're really saying is you need to kind of take out 6 here, bring it into the income statement here of income statement really of 6, clear that out. You currently have 5. Your asset here is showing 16. So I suppose what I'll just do is drop this by 1, and here my income statement 1. So I now have a net movement of 5, really, which is what I'm saying. But I'm just showing you now. So my asset is showing 15. Accumulated depreciation is back to 0. Right, and I have income statement showing a net book value of 1. So this is the actual double entry, isn't it? So you can actually see that's 16, that's 1, and that's 15. But ultimately, the key point here is that we can see an increase of 5 in the income statement. That's the point. Right, cool, great. Yeah, and that's it. So that's how we deal with the reversal of impairments. Key point is we're trying to take things back to their normal point. So from now on, we will just depreciate again over 5 years, and we will go back to our normal process of depreciating with 3 every single year. Great stuff. I'll see you in the next video for dealing with CGUs.